Two of my absolute favorite camera brands now have full-frame mirrorless cameras. One definitely wants to put the phrase bigger is better into actual practice. I mean, look at this thing. While the other is trying to fit as much tech into as small of a body as possible. They are almost, when you think about it, they are almost polar opposites of design philosophy. The Panasonic Lumix S1 versus the Sony A7 III. Which one works best for the online content creator? Let's find out. Oh, there's so much money here, I can't even fake smash them together. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. These are two of my no kidding favorite camera brands. If you add up all of the time that I've spent using cameras to make these YouTube videos over the past 2 years, you'll find that nothing else even comes close for me. So what else is there to do but pit these two against each other, comparing them against the 4 most important categories that I look for in an online content creation camera. First up, video quality. Let's cover some quick basic specs up front to get us all on the same page. If you want a more detailed overview of what each of these cameras can do, I'll leave links to my dedicated videos in the description below. The Panasonic Lumix S1 has a 24 megapixel full frame sensor with Panasonic's Venus image processor powering it all from underneath the hood. It can record in 422 10-bit internal video in up to 4K 30 frames per second and 8-bit video in up to 4K 60 frames per second. It has the ability to record in slow motion video in up to 1080p at 180 frames per second, which not very many other full frame mirrorless cameras can do. Actually, none of them can. Unique! When it comes to continuous video autofocus, it has a 225-point contrast-based depth from defocus system, which is kind of a meh. We'll talk more about it later, but it's kind of meh. The Sony A7 III, on the other hand, also has a 24 megapixel sensor with Sony's Bion ZX image processor. It sounds like it's from the future. This is from the space. This is from the future. It can record internal 8-bit 420 video in up to 4K 30 frames per second. And for slow motion, the A7 III has the ability to capture 1080p in 120 frames per second. That's pretty standard when you consider most new mirrorless cameras. And finally, for its own continuous autofocus system, the Sony has 693 phase and contrast points. But what really matters is how well the image looks, right? Both look pretty darn good. I mean, obviously, in an objective comparison of the two, they both do different things better than the other. Like I mentioned during the specs overview a few seconds ago, the S1 has the ability to record higher quality video with more information than the A7 III. That's not subjective, that is just a fact. Not only can it record in higher quality, but it can do that at higher frame rates in both standard as well as high speed recording. But there is a weakness here. Your video has to be in focus, and I much prefer the autofocus system of the A7 III. While Panasonic, I love them, and they have made great strides in their focusing since the early days of the GH5, it still has the issue of background warping. Like, it keeps the subject in focus relatively well, but the background will still just like pulse while it's recording. I mean, there's no way to change how contrast autofocus works. Another big benefit of footage is to be stable, right? And in this regards, it's not really close. Both cameras do have in-body image stabilization built in, but the Sony's is pretty lacking. I find that it's only really useful for stills, but Panasonic stabilization is outstanding. It's darn near as good as the stabilization on the GH5, and that's a serious compliment. Like, you can take that to the bank. It even has that IS lock mode. As you just physically hold it, it will be like a tripod. That's incredible. But honestly, and this is all personal preference, I think the image coming out of both cameras is fantastic. If you're not doing a lot of grading and 8-bit works for you, you won't have an issue with either camera. And something else that you don't really need to worry about with these two cameras, because audio is pretty darn important too, are the preamps. I find that both cameras are able to do very well with microphones attached. And as a positive, they both have first-party XLR adapter support, so if you need to use a phantom-powered mic, both of these have very small and easy-to-use convenient packages to get some XLR audio in your life. But don't take my word for it, let's hop outside real quick for a video/vlogging test. I'm not gonna, okay, let's try. They're heavy. I can barely go. Welcome to the vlogging test of the A7 III versus the Panasonic S1. These are two huge honking cameras that I'm not gonna be able to carry around for very long, so let's get started. Okay, big vlogging test begin. Whoa. Okay, so again, this is the vlogging test of the A7 III and the Panasonic
S1. They both currently have their kit lenses attached. They're both set to f5, 4K 24 frames per second. Both have continuous autofocus turned on, so that's going to be a big difference that you're going to see between the two potentially. And they both have their in-body image stabilizations turned on. Now you could probably tell that the S1 is a way bigger and heavier camera than the A7 III. You can see right there, it is a big beast of a camera. But the more I use it, the more I actually like it. As we said in the standalone video on Monday, the S1 is not necessarily a full frame GH5, it's more like a full frame G9. But that has some very good things involved with it. So this is the stabilization, this is the autofocus, this is everything you can see. We're not gonna do the audio, because I find that audio, you can always put like a microphone on it, but I will say that both Panasonic and Sony have fantastic preamps in their cameras. They're the only two camera companies that I trust to do any kind of audio work for me. They are both fantastic, but these are some heavy, we're getting a workout. Down, and up, and down, and up. These cameras are both very heavy. I really like it when we did the action cameras last week and it wasn't so heavy. That's my favorite cameras to do, but yeah, okay. I do like the kit lens on the S1 way better than the kit lens on the A7 III, but the A7 III cost $2,100 with the kit lens. The S1 costs $3,300, so I guess you get what you pay for. Okay, my shoulder is about to fall off, so vlogging test over, back to the video.
Okay, and this is the indoor studio test of the two cameras. So this is the A7 III and this is the Panasonic S1. This is the exact same setup you just saw a few seconds ago on my A6400. Same audio, it's the same audio through the same microphone. We're not doing the audio test right now, but it's the kit lenses on both. Here's the 24mm G Master. I'm not trying to cheat with the A7 III. So this is the kit lens. I have it set to f4, kit lens set to f4, 28mm, auto ISO, basically the same settings I could get across the board to make it as simple as possible. But yeah, both cameras could very easily be used as an indoor studio camera. I mean, they're both great. Like, there's no two ways around it. Like, both cameras are fantastic. Like, I really like both, and you could use either one as an indoor studio camera. It would be really easy to keep a low light beast with a 24mm G Master lens that costs what, like $1,400, as opposed to the 50mm Panasonic lens that's $2,200. Like, the Panasonic lenses right now, very expensive. But yeah, this is the image quality you could expect to get. They both have continuous autofocus on, so I'm curious to see which one's working better right now. But okay, back to the video. Next up, let's find out how easy, or not so easy, both cameras are to use. The big elephant in the room when it comes to ease of use is actually the Panasonic S1. This is the elephant. It's a huge camera that is pretty darn heavy, and it's kind of hard to just easily transport this and use. But if you like big cameras, well, then welcome home. I mean, look at the size difference on these things. Like, it is substantial. I mean, this is a zoom lens, this is a prime lens, but the cameras are very differently sized. And if you're like me and you just want small cameras to just go out and get good footage without attracting a lot of attention, the S1 makes that a little more difficult. Plus, it's a lot more difficult on like my back in my camera bag. In every other way though, the S1 is incredibly easy to use. It has a whole range of customizable buttons, a fully touch-enabled screen on the back, and its ports are just easy to access. And look at that, the doors just get out of the way. It's so great that they just get out of the way. There's a reason I'm mentioning this. It also has dual card slots, one being an XQD and the other being an SD. So if you want really fast recording or you want really fast data transfer, that XQD is clutch. But it also, if you want some cheaper media, after you've spent $3,300 on the kit, you can also use SD cards, which is a very nice ease of use feature. The A7 III is also pretty darn easy to use, but it does have a few issues that the S1 fixes. It also has a nice array of customizable buttons, which I use all the time. These two buttons are the buttons that I use most on this camera. And I just really I like both cameras, and I like when cameras don't force you to use it in a way that the manufacturer wants, but it allows you to decide. It lets you make it your camera, and I just really like that. Where it doesn't do as well as the S1 is the touchscreen on the back only works for tap to focus, and you can't cycle through the menu options back here, so that's bleh. But the biggest fault of the A7 III, hands down, are these stupid port doors. I try using this camera as my primary live streaming camera, but trying to plug in audio, power, and HDMI, it puts so much strain on it. I mean, this specific camera is only a few weeks old to me, and I'm already nervous that I've damaged the HDMI port on here. When I have monitors plugged in now, they cut out all the time because I've had to put strain on it when you use the ports. It's the worst design ever. I hate. This is almost a deal breaker for me. But besides the physical aspects, the menu systems on both are going to be an acquired taste. This is probably just my old man curmudgeon-y personality coming through, but I like the menu system on the older Panasonic cameras better. The new system is, I'm sure it's okay, and once I use it enough, it'll be fine, but I just like the way things were. Neither are bad, but no matter your system, it will take time to work through because the Panasonic one is much different than what you would be used to on a previous camera. But you really only need to mess around and set your cameras up once before it's tuned to you. What's more important to me is a little thing I like to call
fiddliness. So what is fiddliness? Fiddliness is how much do you have to mess around with the camera after you hit record. So it's all well and good to take all the time to set it all up, but once you hit record, that's when you really got to start making the video. So how are the S1 and the A7 III different when it comes to fiddliness? Well, as you can see, they're actually very darn similar. Neither has a flip screen, so you're not going to be able to monitor yourself without bringing some kind of hardware with you, like a monitor or hooking up to the apps, like we've already talked about the S1 app in the S1's previous video. But something that you might notice and you might enjoy is the Panasonic has depth from defocus autofocus. So we have them both set to continuous autofocus with face tracking when we were in front of the camera. So the real big difference that's going to come down to this is the size of the camera. The S1, as you see, is gigantic compared to the A7 III, but it's really going to be the autofocus. So are you willing, do you want the phase detection autofocus system of the Sony, which is fantastic, has really good face tracking, really good eye tracking when it comes to photos, or do you want the depth from defocus Panasonic system, which is, for photos, it's perfectly fine, it's lightning fast, but when it comes to video, it can acquire, but it has a problem, like, hopefully it's not doing it too much where like the background is hunting around. We're doing this specifically right here in my back, and that will be very obvious if the Panasonic's having problems with the autofocus, but that's really it. Personal preference all the way. Back to the video.
So we decided to buy one of these behemoths of the camera world. Now what? Do we have a place to grow with it and accessorize? We gotta accessorize our cameras. Nobody just wants boring old stuff. Well, this category has the tyranny of time involved. The A7 III has a mature ecosystem with some of the best lenses currently on the market. Specifically, the Tamron 20-75 and the 24mm G Master are two of my absolute favorite lenses ever. They're just fantastic. The S1 is working on their ecosystem, but as the L mount is an agreement between 3 separate companies, it looks like they'll catch up faster than either Canon or Nikon with their new mounts. So as of today, the release and recording of this video, the A7 III wins for the ecosystem comparison for me, but if you were watching this a couple of months from release, there's a very real possibility that the L mount alliance closed that gap. So what, right? So which of these two cameras would I recommend? Honestly, as much as I like Panasonic, I have to go with the Sony in this case. The A7 III is lighter, cheaper, has better lenses, and the autofocus is clutch when you are making your own content. When you are both the director of photography and the actor and the director, like, you gotta have good autofocus. The Panasonic is a fantastic camera, but like I said in Monday's video, it's great, but I'd still recommend the GH5 over the S1. It's got more video specific features, it's cheaper, it's smaller, it also has a more mature ecosystem. Thanks for watching.